Hello. As you probably know, the CPAN website, the data behind it, all the modules, all the third-party extensions that Perl has mainly two interfaces. One of them, MetaCPAN.org, is the fancier, the new one that has been around for a couple of years now. It's new, it's open source, and it's very fancy. And I personally like it very much, and I recommend people to use it. And just to show you, you can type in something that you're searching for. It will provide you a list of suggestions already. You can select one, and then you can see the documentation of that module with lots of things around it, syntax highlighted, source code, people who can plus it, and then you can see the faces. Very fancy, very nice, very modern. You also can have an account and so on. But some people don't like it. Some people prefer the older version, the older system, the one that's hosted on search.cpan.org. Now, although this resides on the same domain name as cpan.org, it's just a different host, it's not really an official search engine or official interface. It's just one of the interfaces that happens to have this host name. The main problem with search.cpan.org is that the source code behind it is not open. It's not open source. It's not available for improvements. So as you can see, this is a much plainer interface, and you can type in DBI here too and press enter and then search for something, and you can click on the same documentation. And as you can see here, you only have the documentation with very few things on the right hand side, nothing on the left hand side. Much more plain, much more simple. Some would say it's a cleaner interface, but it definitely looks older. Now, though, I understand that some people prefer this for various reasons, but they also complain about certain bugs. For example, I think people complain about the fact that here you have this list which is just links to various parts of the documentation, which is itself the table of contents itself is several pages long, and you can't hide it unless, unlike in MetaCPAN, or where you can hide this and get directly to the synopsis. So if you switch back, it has the contents is here. It's just I hide it automatically. So you can't do that on search.cpan.org, and you can't also send patches because you don't have the source code for it. So I decided to create a clone of search.cpan.org that looks exactly like search.cpan.org, but the source code behind it is open source. So people will be able to improve it if they want to. And they will be able to add certain features if they like it. And they will be able to run it on their own if they like it. Now, of course, recreating the whole search.cpan.org is a huge work. People working on MetaCPAN org worked very hard to get it done. But luckily, they separated the project into two parts. One of them is the part that is indexing all the data from CPAN, and it provides a public API. And the other part is the web front end that shows that fancy interface. Now, in this project, I'm going to use the backend, the API that MetaCPAN provides. So I won't need to deal with all the indexing of the CPAN side, of all the data on the CPAN side. It's enough to implement. It's enough work. That's not simple either, but it's much more simple this way than trying to index the whole CPAN by myself. So the project already exists. It's already hosted on sco.perlmaven.com. It's very simple. Most of the pages, as you can see, the front page is already there, but most of the links don't really work. I think the search doesn't work, although the authors link already works. And there are some other pages that already work. And this is going to be open source, so it's already open source. And there are a couple of things that you can do. One of them is that I'm going to create a couple of screencasts going over all the pages of search.cpan.org and describing each one of them, basically defining the requirements for this site. And it is going to be both text and some screencast. And I'm also creating a screencast following the development of this project. And if you're interested, you can subscribe to the Perl Maven Pro subscription service and follow the development of this project. Now, think about it this way. You actually might have an application, a web application, that has some source code, and you need to rewrite the source code because it's so badly written that you don't even want to read it. Now, in our case, I don't really know how it's written, but I don't have access to that source code. So from my point of view, it's almost the same. The assumption is that I can't read the source code for whatever reason, and I need to recreate, but I have the data backend, the database backend. But so what I need to do is recreate the interface, the web interface. And this is the project about. So I think the same thing can work with various other projects within companies. So again, if you would like to follow it, subscribe to the Perl Maven Pro and expect to see articles there soon.